long take is one of the oldest film techniques in the industry, back to when the first films would only be one take for minute-long movies. A long take is when the camera records a shot for an unusually extended time before cutting to the next shot. This technique is still used today by filmmakers in technically astonishing and emotionally driving shots that can last minutes or longer at a time. However, during the 1950s, the golden age of the Hollywood movie musical, the long take was the best way of showing the action on camera. Allow me to show you what the 1952 classic Singin' in the Rain, starring Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds. Singin' in the Rain is the story of silent movie star Don Lockwood as he and his friends make the transition to talking pictures. The movie features many dance sequences that become some of the all-time classic Hollywood moments, like Make 'Em Laugh and the titular Singin' in the Rain. And some of these sequences use the long take to emphasize the dancing and to blur the line between screen and stage. Back in the 1920s, Russian filmmakers believed that editing was what made films different, so they focused on editing to separate their work from that of live theater. Theater had lights, costumes, acting, sets, etc., but only movies had editing. So now, look ahead to Singin' in the Rain. Singin' in the Rain is a musical, and like many of its musical contemporaries, it was heavily influenced by Broadway and live theater. So it makes sense that editing is down to a minimum. To help portray the illusion of a live musical, Singin' in the Rain uses a combination of long takes and coordinated camera movements to capture all the action. To do this, the film uses the same type of camera shot, a long-distance shot with the character's entire body in the frame and facing the camera. Look at this sequence of Don Lockwood and Cosmo Brown dancing in the song Fit as a Fiddle.
Fit as a fiddle, ready for love. I can jump over the moon up above. Fit as a fiddle and ready for love.
The song is only 1 minute and 45 seconds long and only has 4 cuts, with each shot ranging from 20 to 40 seconds in length, long enough to be considered a long take. The camera is on the ground while the duo is on the stage, so as the audience watching the movie, we feel like we're watching them up on a stage. But it's still a movie, so the camera gets a front row seat and films the subjects by keeping their whole bodies in the frame and then follows them to keep them within the frame. With this, the shot only cuts to the next shot so that the camera can more easily follow the action. Even with all this movement and cutting, each shot looks almost exactly the same, keeping Don and Cosmo's full bodies in the frame with the same distance and angle. Let's take it one step further, even when the setting does not take place on a real stage. In the song Good Morning, Don, Cosmo, and Kathy Selden dance throughout Don's house, moving from the kitchen to the main hallway to the living room. How do they do it? Well, they do it in as few takes as possible. Look at this shot here. Instead of cutting from one side of the door to the other, like many other movies would do, they remove the wall so that the camera can roll through and stay on the subjects. You can see it. They have removed the wall and you see the cross section. And they do this again later to move to the foyer, continuing the take and stretching it out further so you can see the dancing. But what happens when the camera can move no further? Well, that's when the recording stops and they move the scene. Look at this transition. Our characters have been on this one plane of movement from the beginning of the song to now, sort of like a side-scrolling video game, and there's nowhere else to go. So as they finish up this dance segment, the camera cuts and changes its angle 90 degrees. Pair that with the kicking action constant across both shots, this transition is perfectly flawless. And now the scene continues on this new plane. They use this trick a few other times, like in the song Moses Supposes. Don and Cosmo, again, are dancing around in comedic manner. They take up the whole room and stay in the middle of the frame for each shot. They face the camera, their whole body is in the frame, the room becomes their stage. They have all of that space to dance around in, and oh boy, they use it. All of it, without stopping or taking a break. But when they need more room to dance, look at this transition. The camera cuts, moves 90 degrees, and creates a new stage for the actors to dance on. Now these are all about long takes and editing and dance numbers. But what about the rest of the film? You know, the regular talking portions with dialogue between characters. Well, long takes are used in here too. Like in this scene, where Kathy and Don are talking about movie star appearances and their personal lives.
Not exactly, but for lunch, don't you usually tear a pheasant with Miss
And
Lamar?
once again, they use a long take. This one, however, is 2 minutes long, compared to the dance numbers that are broken into 4 or 5 30-second shots. This scene could have had the two characters doing a shot reverse shot or over-the-shoulder conversation, where the editing cuts between close-ups of the two actors talking back and forth. Instead, the film uses one long take of the two walking around. This is one whole scene, and it's done very similarly to a scene in a staged production because of the uncut extended dialogue between the characters. However, it still uses some tricks of Hollywood. Unlike the dance numbers, the camera only focuses on the upper half of the body. This is done to simplify the shot. You don't need to see the legs walking, you can already tell that they're walking. So you're supposed to focus more on the talking.
I guess now that I think of it, I've seen 8 or 9 of them.
8 or 9.
And this conversation is very important to the film because it reveals the character's backstory more. Specifically Kathy, who does, in fact, keep up with the exploits of Don Lockwood, unlike previously mentioned. And using one take helps show that realness. The actors are giving real performances to show how real their characters are. This effect would be lost with back and forth editing, and the scene pairs well with the next, where Don uses falsities of Hollywood to tell Kathy how he really feels about her.
You sure look lovely in the moonlight, Kathy.
Now that you have the proper setting, can you
Singing in the Rain is indeed a product of its time, just like the other hundreds of movie musicals produced during the 1950s. Yet it is still regarded as one of the greatest of all time. The catchy songs and the brilliant dances punctuate the wonderful story, and the songs and dances are in turn punctuated by the filming. Since the camera captures everything in the film, it is important to get as much stuff into the shot as possible, and Singing in the Rain does that beautifully by filming the action with long takes.
And singing in the rain.